Hello, my name is Karen Bowen. Thanks for taking time to let me share with you some thoughts I've been contemplating about how blessed I am to be the daughter of the King of the universe. This relationship I have with a loving God has been to me a source of contentment and joy. Even when circumstances are messed up, when life gets ugly, when I'm hurting physically or emotionally, I find that my confidence in God's unfailing love gives me power and courage to move on. He says in his own words in Jeremiah 31:3 that he has loved us with an everlasting love. And I have found that promise to be very, very true. My awareness of God's love has not always been a part of my life. I was born into an extremely secular family, and during my formative years, I did not have God in my thoughts. But as I look back on it, I realize that even though I was ignoring Him, He had me in His thoughts. As a little girl in the first grade, I came home from school one day feeling very tired. My mom suggested I should take a nap, so I went to my room. But later she heard me crying and came in to check on me. She found that I had a high fever and I was unable to turn my head. They called the family doctor and he instructed that I should be taken to Carrie Tingley Crippled Children's Hospital. We lived in Carlsbad, New Mexico, and that hospital was about 2.5 hours away. By the time we reached the hospital, I was unable to move, I couldn't swallow, and I was not breathing well. I was immediately diagnosed with infantile paralysis, or polio. I was placed in an iron lung, and for several days I lingered between life and death. Finally, my lungs regained their usage and I was able to swallow, so they took me from the iron lung, but they kept me in the hospital for a month. During that month, I had hours and hours of physical therapy and hydrotherapy and massage and exercise and traction. They were doing everything they could to minimize the damage that polio was doing to my muscles. After that month, my mom became my physical therapist. They sent me home, and Mother worked with me hour after hour, day after day, month after month, trying to rejuvenate my muscles. Finally, when my muscles were strong enough and that I could support myself, they let me learn to walk again between parallel bars. After a year, I was finally able to go back to school. I went back to school with a very crippled gait and supportive shoes, and continued on that way for quite a while. But it finally the effects of the polio went away enough that I could walk normally. And I'm thankful to God to be able to tell you today that I'm a polio survivor without any residual paralysis. But I need to tell you that there were 5 children in my school who had polio. For 3 of those children, polio was fatal. One girl survived, but she was in a wheelchair and paralyzed from the waist down for the rest of her life. And yet, in God's plan, I was able to have complete healing and live a very normal life. I'm so thankful for what God has done. And I see His evidences every day of His light, of His love in my life. I challenge you to look for His presence in your life, to see how He has blessed you and how He is blessing you. I have so many details and so many circumstances that show me that he always has been and still is involved in my life. And one of the evidences that I have of his love for me is the wonderful, loving church family that I have found at Pinyon Hill Seventh Day Adventist Church. I invite you to come, visit, get acquainted, and I think you'll find a blessing here just as I have. And I pray that God will guide you and keep you day by day. Thank you for listening.